Money is not just something you earn. It is something you protect, control, and grow. Most people believe the problem is not having enough money. But the real problem is not knowing how to manage themselves. Because money doesn't disappear randomly. It leaks, slowly, through habits, emotions, impulses, and decisions made without thinking. That is why two people can earn the same amount, yet one builds wealth while the other stays broke. The difference is not luck. The difference is mindset. Stoicism is not just an ancient philosophy. It is a system for controlling your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. And when you master these three things, your financial life changes automatically. If you truly want to stop wasting money, build discipline, and create real financial stability, then listen carefully. Subscribe to my channel, Unshaken Mind, for more powerful lessons on discipline, mindset, and financial growth. These are 10 Stoic secrets that can save you money and transform your life. Stoic secret number 1. Control your desires. Desire is quiet at first. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It tells you, you deserve more. It tells you, just this once won't hurt. It tells you, everyone else has it, so why shouldn't you? And before you even realize what's happening, you're already reaching for your wallet. This is how money disappears. Not in one big mistake, but in hundreds of small emotional decisions. You don't wake up one day and suddenly become broke. You slowly become broke by saying yes to every desire that enters your mind. Stoicism teaches something most people don't want to hear. You don't have a money problem. You have a desire problem. Because if your desires are unlimited, your money will never be enough. No matter how much you earn, it will never feel like it's enough. You will always want more. A better phone, a better lifestyle, a better version of what you already have. And this is the trap. Because desire doesn't end when you satisfy it. It grows. The moment you buy one thing, your mind moves to the next. This is why people upgrade constantly, but never feel satisfied. This is why someone earning more can still feel broke. Because their desires are growing faster than their income. Stoicism offers a different path. Instead of increasing your income to match your desires, you reduce your desires to match your reality. And this changes everything. Because when you want less, you spend less. When you spend less, you save more. And when you save more, you gain control. Think about the last thing you bought impulsively. At that moment, it felt important. It felt necessary. But now, does it still feel that way? Or was it just a temporary emotion? This is the truth about desire. It feels permanent in the moment, but it is temporary. And if you can learn to wait, most desires will disappear on their own. That is why Stoics practice delay. They don't say no immediately. They say, not now. They give themselves time, because time weakens desire. What feels urgent today feels irrelevant tomorrow. And this simple habit can save you a huge amount of money. Now imagine applying this every day. Every time you feel the urge to spend, you pause. You don't react immediately. You observe the desire. You question it. Do I really need this? Or am I just reacting? This is how you take control. Because the moment you stop reacting automatically, you start making conscious decisions. And conscious decisions protect your money. But controlling desire is not just about saving money. It is about building strength. Because every time you resist an unnecessary desire, you train your mind. You become stronger, more disciplined, more focused. And this strength carries into every area of your life. You start making better decisions. You stop chasing distractions. You become intentional. Most people don't realize this. They think discipline is about restriction. But it's not. Discipline is about freedom. Because when you are not controlled by your desires, you are free. Free from impulse. Free from pressure. Free from unnecessary spending. And that freedom creates financial stability. Now consider this. If you earned more money today, would your life actually change? Or would your desires simply grow with your income? Because for most people, more money doesn't solve the problem. It only makes the problem bigger. They earn more and spend more. They upgrade everything. And in the end, nothing changes. This is why controlling desire is more important than increasing income. Because without control, more money just means more spending. But with control, even a small income can grow. This is the Stoic advantage. It is not about how much you earn. It is about how much you keep. And what you keep depends on your ability to control yourself. So the next time you feel the urge to spend, pause. Don't rush. Don't react. Observe the desire. Let it sit. Because in that moment, you have a choice. You can either follow the desire or master it. And that choice will shape your financial future. Over time, these small decisions add up. They create habits, and those habits create results. This is how wealth is built. Not through luck, not through shortcuts, but through control. Control over your thoughts. Control over your actions. Control over your desires. And when you master your desires, you stop wasting money. You stop chasing things that don't matter. You start focusing on what truly matters. And that is when your financial life begins to change. Stoic secret number 2. Separate needs from wants. Most people don't lose money because they are careless. They lose money because they are confused. Confused about what they truly need and what they simply want. And this confusion is dangerous, because once your mind starts treating wants like needs, your spending becomes endless. You stop questioning your decisions, you stop thinking clearly, and slowly, your money starts disappearing. It doesn't feel like a mistake, it feels justified. That's the trap. Because a want can easily disguise itself as a need. You tell yourself, I need a new phone. But do you really need it? Or do you just want something newer? You tell yourself, I need to upgrade my lifestyle. but is it a need or is it pressure? You tell yourself, I need this to feel better. But is that truly a need or just an emotional escape? This is how the mind works. It convinces you. It creates stories that make spending feel necessary. And if you don't question those stories, you will believe them. Stoicism teaches clarity. It teaches you to see things for what they truly are. A need is simple. It is something essential, something that supports your survival, your growth, or your stability. Food, shelter, health, progress. A want is different. A want is driven by emotion, comfort, status, attention, convenience. And there is nothing wrong with wanting things. The problem is when you stop recognizing the difference. Because when that line disappears, your discipline disappears with it. Now you are no longer in control. Your emotions are. And emotions are expensive. They don't think long-term. They don't consider consequences. They only care about the moment. That is why emotional spending feels good at first, but leads to regret later. Now imagine a different approach. Every time you are about to spend money, you pause. You ask yourself one simple question. Is this a need or a want? At first, it sounds simple. But when you truly ask that question with honesty, it changes everything. Because most of the time, the answer becomes clear. It's not a need. It's a want. And once you see it clearly, the urgency disappears. You are no longer reacting blindly. You are thinking. And thinking protects your money. But there is something even deeper here. Sometimes, what you call a need is actually something else. It's not about the item, it's about the feeling behind it. You don't need the expensive clothes. You want to feel respected. You don't need the latest phone. You want to feel up to date. You don't need to spend more. You want to feel like you're progressing. This is where awareness becomes powerful. Because once you understand the real reason behind your spending, you can address it differently. Instead of buying something, you fix the root. You build confidence. You focus on real growth. You improve your life in ways that don't require constant spending. And suddenly, you don't feel the same urge anymore. This is how Stoicism saves you money. Not by forcing you to stop spending, but by helping you understand why you spend in the first place. Now consider how much money is lost to convenience. You don't cook because it takes effort, so you spend more. You don't wait, so you pay extra. You don't plan, so you waste. Convenience feels like a need, but in reality, it is often a want, a costly one. Because the more you rely on convenience, the more you spend without realizing it. Stoicism challenges this. It teaches you to slow down, to think, to act with intention. Because when you act with intention, you stop wasting money on things that don't truly matter. Another powerful practice is delay. When something feels like a need, wait. Give it time. Because real needs don't disappear, but wants do. If you truly need something, it will still be necessary tomorrow. But if it is just a want, the feeling will fade. And when it fades, you keep your money. This one habit alone can completely change your financial life. Now imagine living with this awareness every day. You don't spend automatically. You don't react emotionally. You question. You think. You decide with clarity. Over time, this builds discipline, and discipline builds stability. You stop living paycheck to paycheck. You stop feeling out of control. You start seeing progress, not because you are earning more, but because you are wasting less. And this is the truth most people ignore. Financial success is not just about making money. It is about managing your behavior, because money follows behavior. If your behavior is impulsive, your finances will suffer. If your behavior is disciplined, your finances will improve. It is that simple. So the next time you are about to spend, pause. Ask yourself honestly, is this a need or a want? And more importantly, why do I feel like I need this? Because in that moment, you are not just making a purchase, you are shaping your habits, and your habits are shaping your future. When you master this one principle, you stop leaking money. You stop living in confusion. You start living with clarity. And that clarity becomes your advantage. Over time, it separates you from everyone else. While others continue spending without thinking, you move with purpose. While others stay stuck, you move forward. Because you understand something they don't. Not everything you feel is necessary actually is. And once you truly understand that, your financial life begins to change. Stoic secret number 3. Discipline over pleasure. Most people don't have a money problem. They have a pleasure problem. They choose what feels good now instead of what is good later. And that choice is costing them everything. Because pleasure is easy. It doesn't require effort. It doesn't require thinking. It only asks for one thing: give in. You see something you like? You buy it. You feel stressed? You spend. You feel bored? You look for something to enjoy. And in the moment, it feels right. It feels harmless. But over time, it adds up. One small decision turns into a habit. That habit turns into a lifestyle. And that lifestyle drains your money. Stoicism teaches something different. It teaches you to choose discipline over pleasure. Not because pleasure is bad, but because too much of it, without control, leads to weakness. And weakness leads to poor decisions. Think about this. Every time you choose pleasure, you are avoiding something. Effort, patience, discomfort. You order food instead of cooking. You buy instead of saving. You relax instead of working on yourself. And slowly, you lose control. But discipline works the opposite way. It is not easy at first. It asks you to pause, to think, to say no, even when you want to say yes. And that feels uncomfortable. But that discomfort is where growth happens. Because every time you choose discipline, you become stronger. You train your mind to stay in control. You stop reacting to every feeling. You start acting with purpose. Now imagine this in your daily life. You feel the urge to spend, but you stop. You think about your future, and you choose to wait. You feel like giving in, but you stay firm. At first, it feels hard, But over time, it becomes normal. And once it becomes normal, everything changes. You stop wasting money on impulse. You stop chasing short-term happiness. You start building something real. Because discipline is not about saying no to everything. It is about saying yes to what truly matters. Yes to your future. Yes to stability. Yes to growth. And no to anything that takes you away from that. Most people don't see the cost of pleasure, because the cost is not always immediate. It shows up later, in stress, in regret, in feeling stuck. While discipline works quietly, you don't see the reward immediately, but over time, it builds something powerful: control. And once you have control, you have freedom. Freedom from impulse. Freedom from regret. Freedom from living without direction. Now think about this. If you can control yourself when it's easy to give in, then nothing can control you. Not ads, not pressure, not emotions. And that is rare, because most people are controlled by how they feel. If they feel good, they spend. If they feel bad, they spend. If they feel bored, they spend. Their money follows their emotions. But when you choose discipline, your money follows your decisions. And decisions create better outcomes. This is how people build wealth without even earning more. They simply stop losing money to pleasure. They stop chasing every feeling. They stay focused. And that focus builds results. So the next time you feel the urge to spend, pause. Ask yourself one simple question. Is this helping my future, or just my feelings right now? Because that moment matters. That small decision, repeated over time, shapes your life. Choose pleasure, and you stay where you are. Choose discipline, and you move forward. Slowly, but surely. And in the end, discipline always wins. Because while pleasure fades quickly, discipline builds something that lasts. Stoic secret number 4. Embrace discomfort. Most people spend money for one simple reason: to avoid discomfort. They don't even realize it. But if you look closely, almost every unnecessary expense comes from trying to escape something that feels hard. Cooking feels stressful, so you order food. Waiting feels annoying, so you pay extra. Doing things the hard way feels uncomfortable, so you choose the easy option. And the easy option always costs more. Not just money, but also discipline. Because every time you avoid discomfort, you train your mind to run away from effort. And over time, that becomes your default. You stop pushing yourself. You stop building strength. You start choosing comfort in everything. And comfort is expensive. Stoicism teaches a different approach. It teaches you to face discomfort instead of running from it. Because discomfort is not the enemy. It is the training ground. It is where discipline is built. It is where control grows. Think about this. The reason something feels uncomfortable is because you are not used to it, not because it is impossible. Cooking feels hard because you don't do it often. Saving feels difficult because you are used to spending. Waiting feels painful because you are used to getting things instantly. But if you practice these things, they become easier. And once they become easier, you stop seeing them as discomfort. This is how growth works. Now imagine this in your daily life. Instead of ordering food, you cook. At first, it feels like effort, but over time, it becomes normal. And you save money without even thinking about it. Instead of paying for convenience, you slow down. You plan better. You become more intentional. And slowly, your spending drops. Not because you are forcing yourself, but because your habits have changed. That is the power of embracing discomfort. It changes your habits at the root. But there is something deeper here. Discomfort also removes fear. Many people spend money because they are afraid of feeling less successful, less comfortable, less accepted. So they spend to avoid that feeling. They upgrade their lifestyle. They try to match others. They chase a certain image. But all of this is driven by fear. And Stoicism teaches you to face that fear. To accept that you don't need to prove anything. To accept that living simply is not weakness. It is strength. Because when you are comfortable with less, you become powerful. You are no longer controlled by pressure. You are no longer forced to spend just to fit in. You move on your own terms. And that saves you money. Now think about how much money is spent just to stay comfortable. Air-conditioned comfort. Food delivered to your door. Paying more just to avoid small inconveniences. None of these are bad, but when they become habits, they slowly drain your finances, because you are always choosing the easier path. And the easier path always costs more. Stoicism challenges you to do the opposite sometimes, to choose the harder option, on purpose. Not all the time, but enough to build strength. Walk instead of taking a ride sometimes. Cook instead of ordering. Wait instead of rushing. These small choices build resilience. And resilience reduces unnecessary spending, because you are no longer dependent on comfort. You can handle more. You can do more. You can spend less without feeling like you are missing out. That is freedom. Most people think freedom comes from having more money, but real freedom comes from needing less. Because the less you need, the less you spend. And the less you spend, the more control you have. Now imagine facing a tough financial situation. Unexpected expenses come. Something goes wrong. If you are used to comfort, it hits you hard. You panic. You struggle. But if you are used to discomfort, you adapt. You stay calm. You adjust your lifestyle without breaking, because you have trained yourself to live with less. That is the hidden power of discomfort. It prepares you. It makes you strong. It protects you when things go wrong. And that protection is worth more than any short-term comfort. So the next time something feels uncomfortable, don't run. Pause. Look at it differently. Ask yourself, is this discomfort helping me grow? Because most of the time, it is. And if you lean into it, even a little, you will start to notice a change. You spend less. You think differently. you act with more control. And over time, your financial life improves. Not because you forced it, but because you became stronger. Stronger than your habits, stronger than your fears, stronger than your need for comfort. And once you reach that point, money stops controlling you. You start controlling it. Stoic secret number 5. Focus on what you can control. Most people stay stuck with money for one simple reason. They focus on things they cannot control, and they ignore the things they can. They worry about prices going up. They complain about the economy. They stress about opportunities they missed. They think about what others are doing. And while they are busy focusing on all of that, their own life stays the same. Stoicism teaches a different way. It teaches you to stop wasting energy on what is outside your control and focus only on what is inside your control. Because that is where real change happens. There are many things in life you cannot control. You cannot control inflation. You cannot control the job market. You cannot control how other people spend money. You cannot control sudden problems that show up. But here is the truth most people miss. None of those things are the reason they are broke. The real reason is what they do with what they already have. Your habits, your decisions, your reactions, your discipline. Those are fully under your control. And that is where Stoicism becomes powerful, because it pulls your attention back to yourself. Instead of asking, "Why is life like this?" you start asking, "What can I do right now?" That shift changes everything. Now imagine two people in the same situation. The first person complains. He says things are too hard. He says money is not enough. He says nothing is working for him. He spends more time thinking about problems than solving them. And slowly, nothing changes. The second person looks at the same situation differently. He doesn't waste time blaming. He doesn't focus on what he cannot change. He focuses on what he can do today. He reduces unnecessary spending. He improves his habits. He makes better decisions step by step. And over time, his life improves. Not because the world changed, but because he changed. This is the power of control. Now think about how much mental energy people waste daily. They scroll through news they cannot influence. They worry about things far outside their reach. They compare their life to people they don't even know. And after all that, they feel tired, but not better. Because none of that thinking helped them move forward. Stoicism teaches you to stop that cycle, to bring your attention back to your actions, because your actions are where your future is built. Every small decision matters. What you spend, what you save, what you choose to ignore, what you choose to focus on. These are the things shaping your life, not external events. Think about money. You cannot control when prices rise, but you can control how you respond. You can adjust your spending. You can remove waste. You can simplify your lifestyle. You can plan better. And those small changes protect you. Most people panic when things get harder, but disciplined people adjust. And that difference is everything. Now here is something deeper. A lot of financial stress does not come from lack of money. It comes from lack of control. Because when you feel out of control, everything feels heavy. Even small problems feel big. But when you regain control over your habits, your mindset changes. You feel calmer. You feel more stable. You feel capable. And that feeling alone reduces bad financial decisions. Because stress is expensive. Stress leads to impulse spending. Stress leads to bad choices. Stress leads to short-term thinking. But control removes stress, and clarity replaces it. So instead of reacting to everything happening around you, you slow down. You focus inward. You ask yourself simple questions. What can I do today? What can I improve right now? What is in my control at this moment? And you act on those answers. That is how progress is made. Not in big moments, but in small, controlled actions repeated daily. Now think about how powerful this becomes over time. While others are distracted by things they cannot change, you are building discipline. While others are complaining, you are improving your habits. While others are reacting emotionally, you are thinking clearly. And slowly, the gap between you and them grows. Not because you are lucky, but because you are focused. And focus is a form of power. Because where your attention goes, your life follows. If your attention is always outside your control, your life will feel unstable. But if your attention is inside your control, your life becomes steady. And steady is how wealth is built, not through chaos, not through panic, but through control, patience, and consistency. So the next time you feel stressed about money, pause. Don't look outward first. Look inward. Ask yourself what you can control right now. Because even in the worst situations, something is always in your control. Your response, your discipline, your next decision. And that is enough to start changing your life. One decision at a time. One habit at a time. One controlled action at a time. And over time, that builds a completely different future. A stronger future. A calmer future. A more stable financial life. Because when you master what you can control, you stop being controlled by everything else. Stoic secret number 5. Focus on what you can control. Most people stay stuck with money for one simple reason. They focus on things they cannot control, and they ignore the things they can. They worry about prices going up. They complain about the economy. They stress about opportunities they missed. They think about what others are doing. And while they are busy focusing on all of that, their own life stays the same. Stoicism teaches a different way. It teaches you to stop wasting energy on what is outside your control and focus only on what is inside your control. Because that is where real change happens. There are many things in life you cannot control. You cannot control inflation. You cannot control the job market. You cannot control how other people spend money. You cannot control sudden problems that show up. But here is the truth most people miss. None of those things are the reason they are broke. The real reason is what they do with what they already have. Your habits, your decisions, your reactions, your discipline. Those are fully under your control. And that is where Stoicism becomes powerful, because it pulls your attention back to yourself. Instead of asking, "Why is life like this?" you start asking, "What can I do right now?" That shift changes everything. Now imagine two people in the same situation. The first person complains. He says things are too hard. He says money is not enough. He says nothing is working for him. He spends more time thinking about problems than solving them. And slowly, nothing changes. The second person looks at the same situation differently. He doesn't waste time blaming. He doesn't focus on what he cannot change. He focuses on what he can do today. He reduces unnecessary spending. He improves his habits. He makes better decisions step by step. And over time, his life improves. Not because the world changed, but because he changed. This is the power of control. Now think about how much mental energy people waste daily. They scroll through news they cannot influence. They worry about things far outside their reach. They compare their life to people they don't even know. And after all that, they feel tired, but not better. Because none of that thinking helped them move forward. Stoicism teaches you to stop that cycle, to bring your attention back to your actions, because your actions are where your future is built. Every small decision matters. What you spend, what you save, what you choose to ignore, what you choose to focus on. These are the things shaping your life, not external events. Think about money. You cannot control when prices rise, but you can control how you respond. You can adjust your spending. You can remove waste. You can simplify your lifestyle. You can plan better. And those small changes protect you. Most people panic when things get harder, but disciplined people adjust. And that difference is everything. Now here is something deeper. A lot of financial stress does not come from lack of money. It comes from lack of control. Because when you feel out of control, everything feels heavy. Even small problems feel big. But when you regain control over your habits, your mindset changes. You feel calmer. You feel more stable. You feel capable. And that feeling alone reduces bad financial decisions. Because stress is expensive. Stress leads to impulse spending. Stress leads to bad choices. Stress leads to short-term thinking. But control removes stress, and clarity replaces it. So instead of reacting to everything happening around you, you slow down. You focus inward. You ask yourself simple questions. What can I do today? What can I improve right now? What is in my control at this moment? And you act on those answers. That is how progress is made. Not in big moments, but in small, controlled actions repeated daily. Now think about how powerful this becomes over time. While others are distracted by things they cannot change, you are building discipline. While others are complaining, you are improving your habits. While others are reacting emotionally, you are thinking clearly. And slowly, the gap between you and them grows. Not because you are lucky, but because you are focused. And focus is a form of power. Because where your attention goes, your life follows. If your attention is always outside your control, your life will feel unstable. But if your attention is inside your control, your life becomes steady. And steady is how wealth is built, not through chaos, not through panic, but through control, patience, and consistency. So the next time you feel stressed about money, pause. Don't look outward first. Look inward. Ask yourself what you can control right now. Because even in the worst situations, something is always in your control. Your response, your discipline, your next decision. And that is enough to start changing your life. One decision at a time. One habit at a time. One controlled action at a time. And over time, that builds a completely different future. A stronger future. A calmer future. A more stable financial life. Because when you master what you can control, you stop being controlled by everything else. Stoic secret number 6. Avoid comparison. Comparison is silent. It doesn't force you. It doesn't shout at you. It slowly enters your mind and changes how you see your life. You scroll through your phone, and suddenly, your life feels smaller. You see someone with a better car, better clothes, a better lifestyle. And without thinking, something shifts inside you. You start to feel behind. You start to feel like you're not doing enough. And that feeling pushes you to spend. Not because you need something, but because you want to feel equal. This is how comparison becomes expensive. You don't just spend money. You spend it trying to match a life that is not yours. Stoicism teaches you to step away from this, to understand one simple truth. What you see is not the full story. People show the best parts of their lives. They show success, not struggle. They show comfort, not pressure. They show results, not the cost behind it. So when you compare your full reality to someone else's highlights, you are comparing two different things. And that comparison will always make you feel less. Now think about what happens next. You try to close the gap. You upgrade your lifestyle. You buy things you don't need. You spend money just to feel like you belong. But the truth is, the gap never closes, because it was never real to begin with. There will always be someone ahead, someone richer, someone more successful, someone living a different life. If you keep comparing, you will never feel satisfied. And if you never feel satisfied, you will keep spending. This is why comparison is dangerous. It creates endless desire, and endless desire leads to endless spending. Stoicism offers a different mindset. Instead of looking at others, you look at yourself. You focus on your path, your progress, your goals, your reality. Because your life is not meant to look like anyone else's. And once you accept that, something powerful happens. The pressure disappears. You no longer feel the need to prove anything. You no longer feel the urge to match anyone. You start making decisions based on what truly matters to you, not what looks good to others. Now imagine living like this. You see someone with something better, and you stay calm. You don't feel the need to react. You don't feel the need to spend. Because you understand something they don't. Your life is not a competition. It is a journey. And every journey is different. This mindset protects your money because you are no longer chasing an image. You are building a life. And building a life requires patience, not pressure. Now think about how many people are trapped in this cycle. They earn more, but they spend more. Not because they need to, but because they feel they have to keep up. They upgrade everything: their phone, their clothes, their lifestyle. And in the end, they are left with less. Because their spending is not based on need, it is based on comparison. But when you break free from comparison, you gain control. You decide what is enough for you. You define your own standards. And once you do that, everything becomes simpler. You stop chasing things that don't matter. You stop wasting money on appearances. You start focusing on what truly improves your life. And that shift changes your finances. Because now, every decision has purpose. Every purchase has meaning. Nothing is done just to impress. Now, there is another side to comparison. Sometimes it is not about what you see online. It is about people around you. Friends, family, colleagues. They are doing certain things, and you feel pressure to follow. They go out often, so you spend more. They buy new things, so you feel the need to upgrade. They live a certain way, so you try to match it. But Stoicism reminds you of something important. You don't have to follow the crowd. You don't have to live like everyone else, because the crowd is often lost. They are reacting, not thinking. Spending, not planning. Following, not leading. And if you follow them blindly, you end up in the same place, stuck. But when you step back and choose your own path, you move differently. You spend with intention. You save with purpose. You live with clarity. And that creates progress. Real progress. Now imagine the long-term effect of this mindset. While others are caught in comparison, you are building discipline. While others are trying to impress, you are building stability. While others are chasing, you are growing. And over time, the results become clear. Because while they were focused on looking rich, you were focused on becoming stable. And stability leads to real wealth. So the next time you feel that pressure, pause. Don't react. Ask yourself one simple question. Am I doing this for myself or for others? Because that answer matters. If it's for others, it's not worth it. If it's for your growth, then it has value. That one question can save you from many bad decisions. And over time, it builds something powerful. Independence. Independence from pressure. Independence from comparison. Independence from unnecessary spending. And once you become independent, you become unshaken. You move with purpose. You live with control. And your financial life begins to reflect that. Because when you stop comparing, you stop wasting. And when you stop wasting, you start building something real. Stoic secret number 7. Practice gratitude. Most people think money problems are solved by earning more. But many times, the problem is not income. It is a lack of contentment. Because no matter how much they get, it never feels enough. They always want more money, more upgrades, more comfort. And because of that, they keep spending, they keep chasing, they keep feeling like something is missing. This is where Stoicism introduces something simple but powerful. Gratitude. Gratitude is not just saying thank you. It is a way of seeing your life differently. It is the ability to look at what you already have and recognize its value. Because when you don't practice gratitude, your mind focuses on what is missing. And when your mind focuses on what is missing, you feel lack. That feeling pushes you to spend. You buy things to fill the gap. You upgrade to feel better. You chase more to escape the feeling of not having enough. But the truth is, that feeling never goes away. Because it is not coming from your situation. It is coming from your mindset. Now imagine the opposite. Instead of focusing on what you don't have, you focus on what you already have. Your basic needs, your progress, the things you once wished for that are now normal to you. At first, it may feel small, but over time, it changes how you think. Because when you feel grateful, you feel content. And when you feel content, you stop chasing everything. You stop spending just to feel better. You start appreciating what is already there. And that alone can save you a lot of money. Think about this. How many things do you already have that you once wanted badly? At some point, you worked for them. You waited for them. You were excited about them. But now, they feel normal. You don't think about them anymore, and your mind moves to the next thing. This is how the cycle continues. You get something, you enjoy it, then you ignore it and want more. But gratitude breaks that cycle. It brings your attention back. It reminds you that you already have enough to be stable. And once you feel that, the pressure to spend reduces. Now, this does not mean you stop growing. It does not mean you stop improving your life. It simply means you are not desperate. You are not chasing things just to feel complete. You are building your life from a place of stability, not lack. And that changes how you spend. You become more intentional. You ask yourself, do I really need this? Or am I just trying to feel better? Because many purchases are emotional. They are not about the item. They are about the feeling behind it. But when you practice gratitude, you already feel okay. You already feel grounded. So you don't need to spend to fix your emotions. And that is where control begins. Now think about how this affects your daily life. You wake up, and instead of thinking about what is missing, you think about what is working. You focus on your progress. You appreciate your current position. And that mindset makes you calmer, more stable, less reactive. Because when your mind is calm, your decisions improve. And better decisions protect your money. Another thing gratitude does is slow you down. It makes you pause. It makes you reflect. And when you reflect, you stop acting on impulse. You stop rushing into decisions. You give yourself time to think. And that time saves you from unnecessary spending. Now imagine living without gratitude. You always feel behind. You always feel like you need more. You always feel like something is missing. And that feeling pushes you to keep spending. No matter how much you earn, it is never enough. But with gratitude, the opposite happens. You feel grounded. You feel steady. You feel in control. And from that place, you make better financial choices. Now, here is something important. Gratitude is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about recognizing what is already good, even while you work for more. You can still have goals. You can still want to grow. But you are not chasing from a place of desperation. You are building from a place of strength. And that difference is everything. Because when you build from desperation, you make rushed decisions. When you build from strength, you make clear decisions. Now think about the long-term effect. If you practice gratitude daily, your mindset changes. Your habits change. Your spending changes. You stop wasting money on things that don't matter. You start valuing what truly matters. And over time, your financial life becomes more stable. Not because you forced it, but because your mindset shifted. Because you moved from lack to appreciation, from pressure to control, from endless wanting to intentional living. So the next time you feel like you need more, pause. Look around. Think about what you already have. Think about how far you've come. Because that moment of awareness is powerful. It resets your mind. It calms your desires. And it protects your money. Over time, this simple habit becomes a strength. A quiet strength. One that keeps you grounded while others are chasing. One that keeps you stable while others are struggling. And that is the power of gratitude. It doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how you live. And when it changes how you live, it changes your financial future. Stoic secret number 8. Think long term. Most people don't plan to struggle with money. They just don't think far enough. They focus on now. What feels good today? What looks good today? What is easy right now? And because of that, they make decisions that hurt them later. This is how money is lost. Not in big moments, but in small, short-term choices repeated every day. Stoicism teaches you to think differently, to step back and look ahead, to ask one simple question before every decision. What will this do to my future? Because every choice has a consequence. Some are immediate, others take time, but they all add up. Now think about spending. When you buy something impulsively, it feels small, it feels harmless. But that same habit, repeated over time, becomes expensive. Small spending turns into big loss, and by the time you notice it, the damage is already done. This is why long-term thinking matters. It helps you see beyond the moment. It helps you slow down. It helps you choose wisely. Now imagine this. You are about to spend money. Instead of reacting, you pause. You think about tomorrow. You think about next month. You think about where you want to be. And suddenly, the decision feels different. Because now, it's not just about today. It's about your future. This simple shift changes everything. You stop asking, "Do I want this?" And you start asking, "Is this worth it?" Because not everything that feels good now is worth it later. And once you understand that, your behavior changes. You become more careful, more intentional, more focused. Now, here is something important. Short-term thinking feels easy. Long-term thinking requires effort. It requires patience. Because when you think long-term, you often have to say no in the present. You delay pleasure. You choose discipline. And that can feel uncomfortable. But that discomfort is temporary. The results are not. Because every time you choose long-term thinking, you are investing in your future. You are building stability. You are creating options for yourself. Now think about the opposite. If you always choose what feels good now, you are borrowing from your future. You are taking comfort today and paying for it later. And over time, that creates pressure, stress, regret, because the future always catches up. This is why Stoics train their minds to look ahead, not to worry, but to prepare. They don't ignore the present, they just don't let the present control them. They stay aware, they stay intentional. Now imagine applying this daily. You don't spend without thinking. You don't act on impulse. You pause, and you consider the long-term effect. Will this help me grow? Will this improve my life? Or is this just a temporary feeling? These questions guide your decisions, and those decisions shape your life. Over time, something powerful happens. You stop making mistakes you used to make. You stop repeating bad habits. You start building better patterns. And those patterns create results. Now think about saving. Saving is a long-term decision. It doesn't always feel good now. You don't get instant reward. But over time, it builds security. It builds peace of mind. It gives you options. And options are powerful. Because when you have options, you are not trapped. You can handle problems. You can make better choices. You can move forward without fear. All because you thought ahead. Now here is the truth most people ignore. The future is built in the present. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Today. Every decision you make today is shaping what comes next. So if you keep choosing short-term pleasure, you create long-term struggle. But if you choose long-term thinking, you create long-term stability. It is that simple. Now imagine where you want to be. Financially stable, calm, in control. That version of you is not built overnight. It is built through consistent decisions, small choices made daily. And those choices require awareness. They require you to stop, and think, even when it is easier not to. Now think about this. If you can train yourself to think long-term, you will avoid many problems before they happen. You will spend less on things that don't matter. You will save more without forcing it. You will move with purpose. And over time, your life will look different. Because while others are reacting, you are planning. While others are chasing quick satisfaction, you are building something lasting. And that difference becomes clear with time. So the next time you are about to make a decision, pause. Don't rush. Look ahead. Ask yourself, what does this lead to? Because that one question can protect your future. And when you repeat that process daily, you build a life that is not controlled by the moment, but guided by vision. A life that is stable. A life that is intentional. A life that moves forward, step by step. And that is the power of thinking long-term. It keeps you grounded today, while building a better tomorrow. Stoic secret number 9. Prepare for hardship. Most people live as if nothing will go wrong. They assume things will stay the same. They expect stability without preparing for instability. And when something unexpected happens, they are not ready. An emergency comes, an expense shows up, a problem appears, and suddenly everything feels out of control. This is where money disappears quickly, not because the problem was too big, but because there was no preparation. Stoicism teaches a different mindset. It teaches you to expect challenges and prepare for them, not with fear, but with awareness. Because life is unpredictable. Things will change. Problems will come. Situations will shift. And that is normal. The goal is not to avoid hardship. The goal is to be ready for it. Now think about this. If you know something might happen, why not prepare for it? If you know expenses can come unexpectedly, why not build a cushion? If you know life can change, why not stay ready? Preparation is not negative, it is powerful. Because when you are prepared, you don't panic. And panic is expensive. When people panic, they make bad decisions. They rush. They react emotionally. They choose short-term solutions that create long-term problems. But when you are prepared, you stay calm. You think clearly. You respond instead of reacting. And that protects your money. Now imagine two people facing the same problem. One is unprepared. The moment something goes wrong, stress takes over. They don't have savings. They don't have a plan. They feel pressure. So they make quick decisions. They borrow. They overspend. They fall deeper into difficulty. The second person is prepared. They expected that something could go wrong. So they saved. They planned. They stayed ready. When the problem comes, they stay calm. They handle it step by step. And because they are calm, they make better choices. Same situation, different outcome. And the difference is preparation. Now here is something deeper. Preparation is not just about money. It is also about mindset. Because even if you have some savings, If your mind is not stable, you can still panic. Stoicism trains both. It trains you to expect challenges, to accept that life will not always be easy. And that acceptance removes shock. Because many people struggle not just because of problems, but because they didn't expect them. They thought everything would go smoothly. So when reality hits, they break. But when you expect challenges, you are not surprised. You are ready. And that readiness gives you strength. Now think about how this applies daily. You don't spend everything you earn. You keep something aside. Not because you are afraid, but because you are wise. You understand that stability comes from preparation. You don't wait until things go wrong to act. You act before. And that gives you an advantage, because while others are reacting, you are already ready. Now imagine living like this. You don't feel constant pressure. You don't feel like one problem will destroy everything. You feel steady, because you know you have something to fall back on. That feeling is powerful. It gives you peace of mind. And peace of mind leads to better decisions. Because when your mind is calm, you don't rush. You don't make mistakes. You stay in control. Now think about the opposite. Living without preparation. Spending everything. Saving nothing. Hoping everything works out. At first, it feels fine. But the moment something changes, everything becomes stressful. And stress leads to poor choices. This is why Stoics value preparation, because it reduces uncertainty. It gives you stability in an unstable world. Now here is something important. Preparation does not mean you expect the worst all the time. It means you respect reality. You understand that life has ups and downs, and you choose to be ready for both. That balance keeps you grounded. You enjoy the present, but you don't ignore the future. You stay aware. You stay prepared. Now imagine the long-term effect. If you prepare consistently, your life becomes more stable. You handle problems better. You recover faster. You avoid major setbacks because you are not starting from zero every time. You have built a foundation, and that foundation protects you. Now think about how powerful that is. While others struggle every time something goes wrong, you stay steady. While others panic, you stay calm. While others fall behind, you move forward. All because you prepared. So the next time you think about money, don't just think about earning. Think about protecting. Think about preparing. Ask yourself, am I ready if something changes? Because that question matters, and your answer will shape your future. Because in life, problems are not optional. They will come, but suffering from them is often a result of being unprepared. And preparation changes that. It turns fear into confidence. It turns stress into control. It turns chaos into stability. And that is the power of preparing for hardship. It doesn't stop problems from coming, but it makes sure they don't break you. Stoic secret number 10. Discipline is true wealth. At the end of everything, this is what matters most. Not how much you earn, not what you own, not how your life looks to others. What matters is discipline. Because money without discipline disappears. You can earn a lot and still have nothing. You can make progress and still fall back. You can have opportunities and still waste them. All because there is no control. But discipline changes that. Discipline is the ability to do what is right, even when it is hard. To say no, even when you feel like saying yes. To stay focused, even when distractions are everywhere. And when it comes to money, this is everything. Because money follows behavior. If your behavior is careless, your money will be too. If your behavior is disciplined, your money will grow. It is that simple. Now think about this. Why do people struggle financially? It is not always because they don't know what to do. Most people know they should save. They know they should spend less. They know they should think long-term. But knowing is not enough. Without discipline, knowledge means nothing. Because discipline is what turns knowledge into action. It is what makes you follow through. It is what keeps you consistent. Now imagine two people. Both understand money. Both have the same opportunities. But one has discipline and the other doesn't. Over time, their lives look completely different. The disciplined person builds slowly, step by step. They control their spending. They stay consistent. They avoid unnecessary risks. And over time, their life becomes stable. The other person does the opposite. They act on impulse. They follow emotions. They lack consistency. And no matter how much they earn, they stay stuck. Same knowledge, different results. And the difference is discipline. Now here is something powerful. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you build. Every time you make a small, controlled decision, you strengthen it. Every time you resist an impulse, you grow it. Every time you stay consistent, you develop it. And over time, it becomes part of who you are. Now think about your daily life. Small choices. What you buy. What you ignore. What you focus on. These choices may seem small, but they are shaping your habits. And your habits are shaping your future. If your habits are weak, your results will be weak. If your habits are strong, your results will follow. This is why discipline is true wealth, because it controls everything else. It controls your spending. It controls your saving. It controls your decisions. And once you have control, you can build anything. Now, here is the truth most people avoid. Discipline is not easy. It requires effort. It requires consistency. It requires you to go against what feels good in the moment. But the reward is worth it. Because discipline gives you something money cannot buy. Control over your life. When you are disciplined, you are not controlled by emotions. You are not controlled by pressure. You are not controlled by habits. You are in charge. And when you are in charge, your life improves. Now imagine where you will be if you stay disciplined. You spend less without forcing it. You save more without stress. You think clearly without confusion. And over time, your financial life becomes stable. Not because of luck, but because of your actions, because of your consistency, because of your discipline. Now think about the opposite, a life without discipline, always reacting, always chasing, always starting, but never finishing. That life feels out of control, and that lack of control leads to stress. But discipline removes that. It brings structure. It brings clarity. It brings direction. And direction is what moves you forward. Now, as you go forward from here, remember this. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to start. Start with small decisions, small moments of control, small actions repeated daily. Because over time, those small actions become powerful. They build habits. They build strength. They build a life that is stable, focused, and intentional. And that is what Stoicism teaches. Not just how to think, but how to live. A life of control. A life of discipline. A life that is not shaken by emotions or pressure. A life that moves forward, no matter what. And if you apply these principles, your financial life will change. Your mindset will change. Your habits will change. And most importantly, you will change. Subscribe to my channel Unshaken Mind for more powerful lessons on discipline, mindset, and financial growth. Your journey to becoming unshaken starts now.